be
Right.
here.
All right. Get your form pulled up here. So what I'll do is I will get this recorded and I will have it uploaded and posted by tomorrow, so you can take a look, take any notes, rewatch any sections that you want. But, okay. Well, what got you interested in coaching?
I felt like I was plateauing. Just felt like I was stuck at Masters, and then I went on this big losing streak all the way to Masters 2 to Diamond 2.
Hmm.
And it wasn't, and I was trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. And I couldn't really figure out what I was truly doing wrong. I was going to multiple sections like, well, what if I need to work on my mechanics more? Or what if I don't know positioning as much as I think I do? I'm just going to different places, and I came here to see what I really need to figure out.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, let's take a look here. So, how long you been playing the game?
I played at the little bit of the end at Overwatch 1, but I played probably a ton, maybe 500 hours
Mhm.
on Overwatch 2.
Okay. What got you into the game? Because obviously you came in maybe even before Overwatch 2 started. So was it just the hype of Overwatch 2 about to start that got you in? Like, how did you hear about it?
Well, actually, I was looking for a new game to play since I think I was playing Call of Duty before this, and then I suddenly started to look through games and stuff, and then I seen Overwatch, and I'm like, wow, huh? Because my favorite character is Genji, and I remembered looking back at the characters, and I'm like, wow, he's so cool,
Yeah, he's sick.
and I'm just like, I want to play him, and I got the game, and I'm just like, I'm doing very well.
Okay. Well, sick. Well, sick. All right. Well, let's keep going here. So Genji. Now, what I would ask what got you interested in Genji, but that's stupid because Genji's just great. What's what got me interested in the game as well, coincidentally. He's an awesome hero. And so let's take a look here. So Masters Genji at least were, but now struggling in, you said Diamond now.
Yeah, I'm struggling in Diamond now.
Okay, okay. I'm trying to figure out what's happened, what's changed, trying to like guess what's going on. Okay. So how often, how long? 5 to 7 hours. So a lot of Genji. How is that time spent?
The time spent is I would get on, so usually I have like two places I go to warm up. One is just to warm up a little bit on my 180. So I'd go into like a custom lobby. It'd be just some Annas standing still. Then I would just dash onto them, do 180s, and then that'd be for a little bit of time. Then I would get into a death match and just play a ton of those.
Perfect,
Then
perfect.
after
Is
all
that the,
of
is that
that,
the one? Is that the Ana 180? Is that like on the with the big box, the block out in the middle of the sky, right? I'm trying to think what the map is
yeah.
called. Yeah, I've seen that code before. Okay, and then you said deathmatch for a little bit. Okay, see, keep going. Sorry.
And then after that, it would be I'd play rank until I see I'm either doing very bad and then I'll just get off, or I'll play rank until just whenever.
Right,
So
right.
usually it would be like, it just depends really. If I have something to do today, so if me and my mom are going to the range, I'll probably play maybe 2 hours, get off. But usually it is a large number.
Okay,
So
okay.
5, 7.
Makes sense. Do you take breaks?
Uh, Not really. As soon as I'm done with the game, or as soon as I'm done with one game, then I'll just head into queue and then queue up for the next game.
Okay, okay, okay. So here's what I would recommend: a couple of quality of life things. So what I would aim for is I would aim to try to be a little bit more efficient with how you're approaching the game, and maybe segment your game at least a little bit, at least experiment. One of the best things that I think that you can do is segment between practice time and playing just for fun. And so what that might mean is that you do your warm up, you do your death match, you do your 180s, you get yourself all warm, you jump into rank. Okay, this is crazy, but I would legitimately take a 1 2 minute break between every single game. Get up, walk around, grab some water, go outside, check the mail, whatever you got to do a couple of jumping jacks. I don't really care. And I would do that for the first couple of hours. Then what I would do is after 2 to 3 hours of playtime, right? I would take a longer 10, 15, 20 minutes before I do my next block. Does that make sense?
So smaller breaks in like the first beginning hours, and then after that 2 hour period, a little bit longer breaks.
And then do your next block with smaller breaks again. You see that? Reason why I want to do that is you're currently like just playing until you drop, right? But you got to think of like the maximum change that you can provoke in your Genji play takes thought, effort, focus, right? But imagine is in like if you were locked inside like a classroom, right? And you had to study for hours, no breaks, no sun, no light, no lunch break, no nothing. Even if it's something that you enjoy, you're not going to be able to give it as much effort and intention and focus and intensity as you could if you gave yourself short, little, tiny breaks, like refreshers. Okay, remember what I need to work on, remember what I got to go do, and then go do it, right? So what we want to do is your quantity is like very good for playing, but quality maybe not as good. Maybe not as good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So with the breaks, I'm gonna re-say it. So it's smaller breaks, then one large break, and then more smaller breaks, or
Sure, sure. How I'm giving you general guidelines here. I want you to kind of experiment with this a little bit. See
okay.
what works. See what works better for you. The reason why I want those breaks is I want you to think about something other than Overwatch for just a few minutes and to just give yourself to kind of get the blood flowing a little bit. And then before you get back into game, remind yourself of what you're working on. For example, right now you maybe you just play or you're thinking about a lot of things. You don't want to do that. You generally want to focus on only a handful of maybe just one thing. And what you can kind of do is remind myself, okay, I got to focus on my position. I'm going to take an angle, or I'm going to work on my cover usage, or I got to work on my dragon blades, right? Give yourself the chance to kind of like take a break, go into it, take a break, go into it. It's not exactly the same as weightlifting or working out where your body runs out of gas and like needs a break to keep going, but it is a little bit similar. It is a little bit similar. Where taking short breaks is what allows you to go a little bit harder the next time. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That
Like I
makes total
said,
sense.
the details are up to you. I don't really care how you do it. You need to experiment with that. Try and find out what length of breaks works for you, or how often you take longer breaks, or often you take shorter breaks. Experiment with that on your own. Now, one other thing that I highly recommend is, like I said, segmenting your play. Let's say 5, 6, 7 hours of gameplay. It is not possible to be fully focused, fully invested, 100% effort for 5 to 7 hours. It's just not possible. 4 hours, maybe. 4.5, maybe. I mean, you've got to be like a lot of sleep, totally zoned in, maybe. Most people, it's going to be in the 2 to 3 hour range on Overwatch.
Okay.
So knowing that, now you, like I said, your mileage may vary. 4 hours might be something that you can handle, 4.5 even. But knowing that, you have to know when are my full effort games, and when are the games when I'm just playing for fun. Because you say, "Oh, I quit when I'm not playing well." Well, you honestly might want to shift to playing for fun before you even do that. You should shift as soon as you feel like you're forgetting to practice something. Like I remember when I did this on stream, I would say 6, 7 months ago. I was grinding something. I don't even remember what hero it was on stream. It was Ana. I don't know. And I remember I was like playing on stream and I was talking about like my thought processes and stuff on Ana. And I think it was like game 12, 13, something like that. And I was taking my breaks and, and getting up from the computer. But I think it was like game 13. I think it was Dorado. I just kept forgetting to practice my cover usage or my off angling, or I forget what I was practicing at the time. I just kept forgetting to do it over and over and over and over again. And I wasn't playing too badly, but I just kept forgetting to do it. And so then I looked at my Twitch chat and I was like, you guys, like, I think I need to stop because I keep forgetting to practice what I need to practice. So this isn't really good practice anymore. I'm just playing, right? And that's kind of what you're looking for. I don't know if that's by hour 2, 3, 4, or 5. At some point, you're going to realize that I'm not like going full out anymore. Like I'm just kind of tired. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to stop playing. You just need to be stop playing for practice and start playing for fun, where you're not really concerned how I'm playing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as soon as like you're starting to forget the things that you're supposed to be practicing on, like cover or
Yes.
position, and as soon as you start forgetting those things, you just play for the fun of the game.
Exactly, exactly. Now that might mean quick play, might mean that you off roll, play a different role, might mean that you play some arcade. I know people that also have like a Smurf or an alt that you just go on and then that's where you just play for fun and you don't really care about your rank. I know some people have a hard time playing ranked for fun on their main because it feels like I'm not going to be playing as well, so I'm scared of like losing rank. So I generally try to avoid that if you can. Um, and just leave your main for when you're like actually focused. Not when you're trying to win, but when you're trying to practice, right? But however you want to handle that, again, it's up to you. You might play quick play in Genji and play some friends. Try out some Winston. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, however you want to approach that, you go for that. But that is again the general guidelines of what I want to recommend. And keep in mind that might shift day to day. I wouldn't say 4.5 hours. That's all I could do because what happens if you get like a lot of sleep? You're not stressed at all. You're feeling great, and you feel like I can really handle 5 hours a day, right? Then go for 5 hours if you feel like it. What happens if you sleep terribly and you're like kind of stressed and like you're an hour and a half in, 2 hours in, and you're already getting distracted and stuff? Stop there. Stop there, right? Treat yourself like a little bit like an athlete, right? Where how am I feeling today? What have I got to give today? Make sense?
Yeah, I didn't get much sleep. Yeah, I didn't get much sleep yesterday. I'll be
Right,
honest with
right,
you. It was like a nightmare.
right, right.
But I can understand.
Right. Okay. Well, that's something to toy with, I would say. So, something to keep in mind. And I think that would be that it's not a very like flashy, like gameplay oriented way of looking at things, but that taking of breaks, segmenting your gameplay, maybe the most important thing that we talk about today. Just keep that one in mind. In terms of long term progress, long term improvement. So really good. It's just good. Period. Not even just for Overwatch. Okay. So let's see here. Long term, short term goals, top 500. Short term, see what I need to work on and to get better. Perfect. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? Just understanding Genji and how to read the situation, because this is what I'm working on right now. I really don't feel like I know what I'm doing, but at least at the same time, okay. 8 hours of sleep per night on average. Love to see it. You heard from me from Harmless Spoke. Awesome. Love that guy. He's a good guy. Smart guy. Really smart guy. Okay. I don't have any other questions from your forum. Do you have any other questions for me?
I did have one question. It was about one of the VODs you did on a top. It was like a top 500 Genji, and he also played Soldier. It was a VOD review that you did, and and I remember specifically you saying something about fishing for kills with Genji. What does that mean?
Okay. Let me see if I can find it. I think I have an idea of, yeah, I find it. It was recent. Was it on the Busan?
On Genji, he was playing Havana.
Havana. Sorry, why am I saying Busan? Yes, Havana. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's what the fishing for kills means. Fishing for kills sees that you see an opportunity to go in, maybe get a kill, maybe not, but you're going to create a big bunch of havoc. Like, they're going to freak out. But it's okay. Even if you don't get the kill, because what do you have? Deflect, cover. You got a good wall climb escape route. Your supports can see you, all that kind of thing, right? So what I mean by fishing for kills is you go for like these little dives where you have your deflect, you have your wall climb, you have an escape route. You're not playing like I have to get the kill, otherwise I die. But maybe you do get the kill. That's what fishing for kills is. Fishing for kills is making a calculated, quote unquote, dive attempt where even if you don't get the kill, you still have an escape route with your cooldowns. But there also is a chance that maybe you just freaking get the kill. Right?
Huh.
That's kind of what fishing for kills is. I think a lot of Genjis only commit if they see somebody that's low HP that they can kill. And I think that's a mistake. And I think a lot of Genjis also commit even if there's like no chance of getting the kill and they have no way of getting out again. And I think that's also a mistake, right? You need to find the balance between the two. And we'll talk about that in your review. It's a great question.
Okay. That's about all the questions that I had. I was supposed to more, but yeah, I guess I wasn't paying attention much.
That's fine. If any questions come up, don't hesitate to message me or off stream, or if any questions come up during the review. All right, you got a code for me?
Mm-hmm.
Up here.
Let me send you the code.
Sure.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Righty. True story the other day. I had a code with, I think, 4 or 5 J's in a row. I had never seen that before in my life.
No.
It was rather strange. Okay, let's take a look here. So Genji. What are you trying to accomplish with Genji? So you're Diamond Genji. You probably have a pretty good idea of how this character works. I like the skin as well. Is that wait, yeah. Houston Outlaws, nice. I love the green and black. Looks sick. What is Genji good at?
Genji's good at off-angling and diving.
Yeah, sure. Now, when you say off-angling and diving, what are the differences between the two? Because sometimes when you dive, it's like you are on an off-angle, right? So what's the difference?
Yeah. That.
I know it sounds like such a simple question that I should know the answer to, but actually it's not really, right? So it's okay if you struggle with it a little bit.
Would diving be like diving with a teammate? So with our Diva or our Reaper?
Working with somebody. Sure. Okay. What about a solo dive? If you went for a solo dive, what would that look like?
It would probably be from an off angle, possibly on the Ana Soldier.
Now you said on. When you dive somebody, are you diving somebody right now?
No.
Why not? How can you tell? What does a dive look like?
A dive looks like pretty much just everyone gathering on like one person.
Sure, but we talked about a solo dive too, right? Maybe you go for a solo dive. So what does a solo dive look like?
You diving on that one person.
Right. But you get close to them, right?
Yes.
So you kind of have an idea of what I'm saying, where a dive is kind of like you getting on top of somebody, right? Just using your abilities, jumping on top of them, forcing their resources. And now here's a question. Why would you not go for a dive right now? Why aren't you diving? You're a dive character, right? So why not dive?
Well, there's no one that I can get on top of.
Sure?
If I would,
you could dash on top of this guy and get pretty close, right?
Close. Well, yeah, but I already used my deflect, and on top of that,
yeah. So it's all about like, can I get on top of the target? But also, is there a reasonable chance that I kill that target? And also, can I get out if the dive fails? And it's like calculating. This is like Genji's like both a like no brain, turn off your brain, just flow, animal instinct in the moment, assassin. But at the same time, there's actually a lot of calculations going on right now in your brain. Some of them you might be doing automatically. Some of them you might need to do more chess-like. One of the phrases that I heard used in a book I enjoyed was you need to learn the numbers, referring to, I think it was chess, so that you can forget the numbers. So in other words, you need to study every situation and build like this big knowledge base, practice, thinking, so that eventually it starts to happen automatically. You get what I'm saying? Like right now, you're like, this feels like a dive here would be really bad, but why? And you need to kind of figure out why. And you need to kind of think about when it would feel good and when it would feel bad, but maybe it's still worth going for. So let's keep going here. So the difference between off-angling and diving might just be the fact that diving, you're getting close to the person. Now, for example, right now, you just said, well, I don't want to dive. It's too close, right? Or I don't have my deflect. But yet, right here, you dive, right? Yeah. Why?
Well, he's super close, and possibly I could get the kill on him, but I'm also close to my teammates.
So you're close to your teammates, you said, right? Now, you don't have your deflect, though, right? You sure this is worth it? Do you need your deflect right in this situation right now? What do you think?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. Do you need your deflect in this situation right now? You dive onto the Genji here, right? Did you need your deflect?
Not
Right.
well.
Maybe, but
Maybe.
I understand why you went for it, right? Because you had cover very close by, right?
Yeah.
So it was okay. All right. And guess what? It works out. Nice
Mhm.
job. Love it. Love to see it. Now you're still thinking about diving, aren't you? Right?
Yes,
Dive, dive, dive,
I'm
dive,
still
dive, dive.
thinking about going on to the
Uh huh.
Ana.
Now let's think about this. I know you're up 2 here. Where could you position right here to better set up a dive or better either cause more of a distraction or have a better chance of a kill? Where could you
I could go into that room off to the left and try and either to try and get some additional damage onto the Ana and even dive her.
be? This is what we call fishing. You asked what a fish was. This is a fish, okay? Where you could sit here and throw shurikens, maybe deflect and so on. Do you have to dive this Ana from here?
Not really.
But you could. And
I
so
could.
what you would do is you would throw some shurikens, see if she uses nade or sleep, or see if you hit your shurikens, right? And see if she gets low, and then decide if I want to go all the way in. Do I want to catch the fish or do I want to just let it go? You got me? The problem
Mhm.
with where you're at right now is it's a lot scarier to go for the fish here, right? You have to go through the Reinhardt on an Ana and an Eviari who's farther away, correct? So it's not as attractive, right? And it's also a lot
Nope.
more dangerous. Does that make sense? So I like your angle idea. I don't like what you're doing right now.
I guess my brain kind of turned off when I seen 3, and then my whole team
Right.
pretty much had the numbers advantage, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
why don't we just go in?
And you
But
see, that's the thing, though. That's the thing. When you have a numbers advantage, you should be going in. But a lot of people mistake a numbers advantage with a map control advantage. I think that's a very advanced, complicated concept. But the idea is that a map control advantage is that you have all the angles and the high ground and so on, right? Do you have a map control advantage right now? Does it look like you have a map control advantage right now? Do you guys have the high ground? Do you have all the angles? No. Neither do they, right? But if you're gonna
they're on the
push,
shot.
right? But if you're gonna push on an angle, usually. Push on a high ground, usually. Does that make sense? You should push here, but that doesn't mean you just run it down mid because you're gonna run right into the Reinhardt's arms, and maybe that's exactly what he wants you to do. So this position here, that's the type of fishing that we do.
Okay.
You see, that's what the rest of your team is doing, right? Push, 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 push. That's what gets your Moira killed, right? Now, again, do I think that this is a reasonable fish? What do you think?
I'm pretty low. I'm on. Don't really have deflect at the moment, but I will.
Do you have
Uh,
cover?
mm, well, there isn't a Lari behind. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. Is she 1 HP? Did you commit off of, do you know if she has nade or sleep?
Nope.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like I feel like you guys should be good to push right now, even though you're down, you're up a few, right? So surely this will work, but also it might not. Like that you don't have your deflect, like you said, you're low, you don't have great cover, you didn't come from an off angle, and you don't know if she has nade or sleep dart. I'm spooked. Right? I'm kind of spooked here, right? Now it's like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, I gotta run away, right? So it wasn't bad, but it could have been bad. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, no deflect. Ooh, get to cover, get to cover, get to cover. Okay. Now we're good. But unfortunately, at this point in time, your team has had to kite out. So your team and you, to an extent, made the mistake that we talked about earlier, where you had an advantage and you pushed right down the middle of the enemy team instead of trying to take an off angle. Fishing from that left flank, the one that you talked about, right on the left, probably would have won you this fight. Would have allowed you to have done more damage to Ana, look for a better, safer dive, and would have saved you your deflect so that you could have stayed for longer on Ana. Okay. Nice, nice. Now this is risky because what? What's wrong? What's not? What's right with this? What do I like? What do you like about this right here?
She doesn't know I'm there.
Okay.
I'm at a good angle, but I don't really know if she has any of her cooldowns up. But I
Mm-hmm.
do have all my cooldowns up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a bad. It's bad because, well, I dashed into her without any knowing that she didn't have like sleeper nade.
Yeah, and the tricky thing here too is, are you going to survive if you don't get this kill? I is there an escape route here? You know,
Nope.
not really. Maybe you could like deflect and wall climb out, maybe. But it's
I
scary,
could.
right? It's scary. So for me to dash onto this Ana, what would you need to see? What would you need to do? How could you play this differently? Ask that question.
I could try and poke her a little bit more, see if
Mm-hmm.
I could bait out a sleep or a nade.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you hit a triple headshot. Maybe you hit a couple of headshots or a couple of body shots, get her low, right? And then all of a sudden, now I want to go, right? So
I
he,
also got a question.
sure.
So when you're poking, what if your team just gets absolutely stomped and you're still in that angle trying to poke? What would you do then? Because if your team's just getting stomped and you're in a good angle and you're trying to poke, fish for kills, how would you deal with that?
You tell me. Are you going to be able to stop this Reinhardt necessarily from running over your team?
No.
No. So what can you do to help your team?
I could try and get onto the Ana or the soldier and
Huh. Or even
take
just
some pressure
distract
off of
them,
them. Well,
right?
yeah.
Even just distract them because this Ana's not going to be healing her Ryan. This soldier's not going to be shooting your backline. This is what Genji's great at. You think about like what's going to help my team poking from this angle, looking for opportunities to dive. That's what's going to help your team. Might not always feel like it, but it's going to. I mean, think about last fight, right? Like you were shooting the Reinhardt a lot last fight, but it didn't work. Right? It didn't work. You guys lost anyway, right? You guys lost anyway. So I think exactly what you said here. I think going, shooting, pressuring, poking this Ana, playing around the cover, this mini health back in here, seeing if you can hit some shurikens, get her low, force a cooldown or two, look for an opportunity to dive. That's okay. I'm just a little bit concerned that this is an all in, and I think you might die. Right? Now you caused a lot of distraction. You forced 1, 2, 3 cooldowns and 2 distractions. So maybe your team still wins because you created a lot of space. Do you see that? Look at where the Honest Soldier were, right? And look at where Honest Soldier are now, right? At least before you died, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I just would have preferred you to either have the Ana low or have an escape route. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And no escape route, it's not going to work. Nice. Nice. Woo! Moira, please. Please, Moira. Now, don't make the same mistake you made last time, right? Right? Take it, right? You might need to be careful around your deflect.
I looked over this VOD
That's all right.
to so I looked over it before and I didn't know what I was looking at. But as soon as I looked at that blade, I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
nobody was pressuring the tank at all. And I just went in fully just
yeah.
hoping that they would just forget about me.
Right. For you, it's all about taking a good angle for like a better position, but also just so that you can avoid shooting, like getting hit by a hammer, right? Like this is just Ryan would love to beat the crap out of you, you know? You don't have your deflect, so back up. Good. Turret. There you go. Okay. Good. That's it, right? Now, what would if you missed every shuriken right here? Would this still be good? Would it still be the right play? Let's ask that.
Um, I want to say yes.
What would the Ana do? She sees you. You're chucking shurikens at her. What would you do?
She'd probably try and sleep me or nade me.
Hmm. And she's going to stop healing her Rhine and stop shooting her Reaper, and she's going to look at you. And you're going to be like, haha, just tuck into cover, shoot some, and then you're going to keep throwing shurikens, right? Until you see the amount of damage that you want to do before you commit, or you see those cooldowns before you commit, and then you go. The thing is like a lot of Genjis don't understand. A lot of Genjis understand that they need to wait for cooldowns before you commit, right? Or force cooldowns. But a lot of Genjis don't know how to force the cooldowns, right?
No,
How
I
do you force
don't
the
really
cooldowns, right? How
You
do you
do
force?
damage to them.
You do damage. Well, you do damage, and how do you do damage? How did you get to this Ana to do damage? How did you manage to get here?
Well, I went through an angle and I
Right.
decided to throw shurikens at
Right. Through an angle, with cover, with your team. Your team is pushing, right? So there's distractions. And you force those cooldowns. You don't wait for them to make a mistake. You force them to make a mistake. Does that make sense? That's the difference. That's what you have to do. So you take an angle, you throw shurikens, you force the cooldowns, you get an advantage, and you commit. And right now, obviously, you're a little bit far from cover, but you hit shurikens from an angle. There's your advantage. And look at that. Look at this jackass, right? He wanted you so bad. Now he look how silly he looks. Look at this guy. He wanted you so bad. But you see how much harder it was, right? You see how much harder it was when you came from an angle, right? He didn't even know where you were until too late. And then all of a sudden, you're just like a rat. You're just like slipping away into the darkness, right? They'll never hear from you again. Yeah, I mean, nice job. Nice job. Poor guy. All right, let's see what you got here. And you're back on the angle again. Brilliant. So you trolled, you fed, and then you carried. And the only thing that changed was you hit some shurikens and you positioned. Get her. Nice. See? Well, she's gone out again. What are you doing? He is running all over the place. Now, this is hard, isn't it? Right? Because what's the problem with this choke?
Well, everyone's probably going to be down main, and
Right.
they could see you from that window up there.
Right. So this angle doesn't feel very good either, right?
Does
So what are your options here? There isn't really a good option, but what is the best option maybe that you have?
the best option could be scouting out the enemy and see if I can go for a long flank.
Yeah. See, that's a perfect answer. See, I look at this here and I'm like, maybe break that or get back. It's risky, but maybe there isn't a better option. You know? You look at this here and you're like, man, I'm not going to do anything. Look at that. Your aim is not that bad, but it's just really hard to hit shurikens. It's really hard. There you go. There you go. I do think breaking the Iliari turret, if you can break it here, is pretty useful. If you can do that. But, okay, we're going to go for it. Love to see it. Ooh, you just heard Sleep Dart. Now, what's great about this is if you dash here, is there a wall to climb to get out?
There's that place on the right that I could climb up to get to the high ground. There's
So
a
you could
mega in
dash,
that room.
shoot shurikens, duck in the mega, wall climb out. You could dash, shoot shurikens, wall climb, get out, grab around here, grab the like you got all these routes, right? So here's the question: do you need to wait for them to be low before you dash?
If they have no cooldowns, not really.
I would say even if they did have cooldowns, you can go, because what's the difference between dashing them here and dashing the Ana here? The problem here is that could you get out from this position?
You couldn't get out from it very
You
easily
couldn't.
at all.
No. But here, I think so. It's a lot easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier. That's the difference. That's the difference. A lot of Genjis, remember, we talked about this at the start of the review. You don't have to wait for cooldowns or for them to be low for you to go in. In fact, you shouldn't always, as long as you have somewhere to go out. Somewhere to go. And I think here, you got somewhere to go. Right? There you go. You still have your deflect? Perfect. Perfect. Great job. Great job. Obviously, your diva helped you out a lot there, but even if your diva wasn't there, I still think you create a big distraction, you deflect, you You wall climb out to cover it, and I think you're fine. That's why Genji is really good on maps with like walls and high ground and stuff, because you can go in and get kills, or try to get kills, and even if you fail, you can get out. Like right now, you could throw shurikens. What are they gonna do? They can't stop you. Nice. Nice. Good. All right. I think that's first point. I think you guys are going to cap. Yep. All right. Let's see it. Love this position too, because you can drop, throw shurikens, wall climb back up. You can drop behind as well. Scary, right? Really scary. But your Mercy comes in clutch. Now, I don't mind this play, but I would really, 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 really love for you to have deflect before you do this. Why is that important?
Be able to help you get out or help you stay in the fight longer.
Correct. Correct. I'm not even sure that you can get out from here, right? Not reasonably. So you better have that 1v1 cooldown. Deflect is so important for 1v1s, right? It's so important for one. Even if it just makes them stop shooting at you for a second, that alone is important. So I don't mind this play if you had deflect. I like the blade. Nice. No, no, I had you out the map. I was like, no, no, please. Okay, good. Good, 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 good. Nice blade. One kill with blade is good enough. You see somebody isolated, you got your deflect, you got HP, go for it. Love to see it. This Reaper's getting so many early picks. Oh my God. Good, you got your cover. Oh my gosh, there's just no way. That must feel good. Okay, well, tragically, Reaper gets a little too aggressive. Yeah, I think you just disengage here. Maybe? I think you're okay to stay here for a little bit. You don't have a lot of healing, though, so you gotta be careful with that. There you go. Warrior through your orb. By the way, any questions so far?
Not really.
Okay. We'll pause at the halfway point and do a quick checkup.
Okay.
All right. Now, this is tough, right? Because it feels like everybody's so freaking far away, right? So, positionally, I like this starting position, but what could you consider?
Well, I did try to go over there and later in the VOD,
Here?
but
Yeah.
but I was getting forced out a ton.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. I don't think it's necessarily bad if you're getting forced out, if it's hard for them to force you out. But if they're just like looking at you once and shooting you after an eye, maybe. What do you think about, well, what are your other options then? So you can go
You
here.
could try and go for a deep flank. So over there, or maybe through the tunnels off to the left.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Throw some shurikens, deflect, dash out to your team, right? Maybe something like that. That's what I would try. Because I don't like what we're doing right now, right? We're just kind of doing what we did on first one. Got to stand in front of the tank and just kind of shoot shurikens. But it's very hard for us to be effective. To try and take a little bit of a longer angle around. Not even a longer angle. Even this is better than what we did right there, right? Where we can drop, throw shurikens, dash back out again. Yeah, see, it's too easy for them to shoot you down. All right, let's see. Okay. Grab the mini. I would just grab the mini behind you, honestly. Right here.
I didn't even know that was there. I'm gonna be honest
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. It's a good one to know. Nice. Oh, I see people over there. Ooh, see, this is good. I normally don't like dropping on main, but she's feeding. Hit her. Oh, nice. Now, I was gonna say, get out of here. Get out of here. Yeah, there you go. See, now here's the question. Can you get out safely with your deflect from this position here?
I want to say yes.
Yes, it's tough though, but at least it's better than what we saw earlier, right? It's not great, but it's doable. So let's see. There you go. Nice. Look at the cover you got here, right? Oh no! No, where was your diva? Oh, was she? Oh, she was remeching. Oh, that's tragic. Okay, that's okay. All right. So what are you seeing so far as being skills that you can practice with Genji? I think we've liked your mechanics has been okay. Your blades have been okay. At least, obviously, first point. But like the blade was all right. But what do you think needs to be better?
Mainly the positioning, I want to say.
What about your
The
position?
angles that I got to take. I'm
Right.
usually running it down mid, and now that I'm seeing this, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I got to take this angle to where I can just pressure out the Ana or anybody, and I'll be able to do this better, pretty much.
Right, right. So like, taking more consistent little angles there, I think is the big one. I think the other thing too is, well, when you're committing on an Ana, when you're dashing in on anything, what are you seeing? What needs to be done maybe a little bit better? Remember on first point?
First point when I dashed the Ana and I died.
Uh-huh.
Well, I dashed that Ana straight just because I seen her, and then she used nade, and then I immediately died. Did not know if she had nade or not. Full health, just dashed her.
Right, and you didn't have an escape route either.
No.
Right. So to me, this is where I think you could use some practice. We don't want you, we need to find the balance. You need to practice calculating. When I go in, how do I get out? Do I have a deflect? Do I have cover? Do I have a wall to climb? Right? That's what needs to be practiced. Because I don't necessarily, going on an Ana that has nade is okay as long as you have an escape route. Maybe your plan is I'm going to dash the Ana, fish for a kill. Maybe I don't get the kill. Maybe I do. But if I don't, I can still deflect, wall climb out, and I'm safe. And I force sleep, I force nade, I force distraction. That's good, right? But you need to have an escape route. Probably one of the most important skills that Genji can have. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions so far?
I do have one big question. And it's about adapting to, well, certain players, because a Genji can be very aggressive, but let's say they have a Mei Torb. The Genji would be passive, wouldn't he not? Or let's say they have a very strong comp like a Zarya, Stim, Mei, and other characters like Moira, Lucio. How would that work?
Great question. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Genji's not amazing versus those compositions. However, you can make some small adjustments. For example, when I'm playing Genji versus a Winston Tracer, what are the problems of playing Genji versus a Winston? What can a Winston Tracer do to you? Like, let's say I'm holding an angle and I'm shooting, like, let's say, I don't know, backline over there, right? And I'm holding an angle over here. Can the Winston Tracer get to me?
Well, yes, they could jump on you, dash on you.
Right. So they're not very good at shooting you from a distance, but they can use their mobility to get close to you and kill you quickly, right?
Yeah.
Now, Mei Torb are dangerous to get on top of and so on, but do they have mobility?
No.
Not really. So what Mei Torb can do in terms of stopping your dives by shooting at you or having defensive cooldowns being really tanky, what they can't do is they can't stop you from taking super, super, super crazy flanks. Because who's going to get you? Mei? Torb? They're slow. Not going to get to you. They're not going to find you. So what I have discovered is versus compositions that people are trying to counter you on, what they'll do is they'll counter you on your dives, but they can't stop you from taking angles. Does that make sense? So what you do is versus those comps that counter you is you focus less on diving and more on just taking any angle you want and committing whenever you see an opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little.
Do you have a code where you played versus one of these recently?
No, but
Yeah, so what I want you to do then, so you have a free replay code review because you're sessions. So next time you play into one of those compositions, I want you to send me the replay code with a few timestamps, and I'll send some feedback to show you exactly how you play into that. Make sense?
okay.
Okay.
Would it be like
Go ahead.
so? Let me see if I can understand. Would this be instead of diving like anything, you would wait until you actually find a good target to dive?
Sure.
So let's say that.
My aim is true.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
So it would be waiting until a target is ready to dive, so
Sure.
then you can confirm the kill all the time.
Sure. Like maybe you take a high ground off angle and you shoot, right? And then eventually you are able to shoot enough pressure on the Mei and Torbjorn, or that maybe you force the Torbjorn's overload, right? You force the Mei's ice block. Now that target becomes diveable. But see, the problem with the Mei Torbjorn or the Symmetra is that, and even the Zarya, right? They can't force or deflect, or they can't stop you from taking a position, because they can't reach you. They can't reach you. So if we go into your code right now, back to your code. King's Row, right? We go into your code here, and we skip ahead to third point. The problem with third point that you saw is that where is it at? Right here. You see this stupid echo?
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying, isn't it? Right? Why is she so annoying for you? Because what does she have that the Mei Torbjorn don't have?
She has the mobility.
She has mobility. So she says, oh, you're up here? No, you're not. Get out of there. Go home. Right? If they're on Mei Torbjorn here, can anybody stop you? Zarya, can they stop you from being here?
No.
No, they can't. So you take any position you want and shoot and shoot and shoot. Drop, dash out to safety. Crap, that was close. Shoot. Do it over and over and over again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I noticed. I think I've seen it now.
Yeah. It's not, keep in mind, it's still a little bit harder. So I do want you to send me that replay code if you get a chance to. Because it's like one of those things to where like it counters you until you understand it, and then it counters you a lot less. It's still not super fun to play into, but it will counter you a lot less. But you have to actually practice it. Okay. Any other questions? Because that was a really good one.
I will say, do you mind looking at like another replay code, or
Sure.
what is it? This okay.
We got a little bit here. Okay, got it.
Ready for battle.
Hey, Havana. Alrighty, let's see. Do you have a particular defense or offense, or do you have anything in particular that you want to look at?
I want to look at how would you really position on Havana, or is it just like just a bad map in general?
It's tough on first point for sure. It's so open, right? It's like you're a pretty short range character most of the time. So we'll take a look here. I think your position right now is okay. I might try to take a little angle like here, right? Now, you're not necessarily going to dive from here, but again, you're distracting, right? You're distracting and shooting squishies. He might try to use his nade on you. You're going to deflect, and you're going to walk out to cover here, right? Just causing a distraction.
Okay.
See, but I would really avoid this, right? That's the hard part with Genji, is that you're kind of a short-range character, but you freaking hate short-range tanks. Zarya, Ryan, Ramatra, these guys suck. I hate playing into those, right? Because they can force you out really fast, right? You can't even deflect their stuff, right? So what I would do is I would try to avoid this tank line. I would try to avoid this tank line as much as I can.
Okay.
That might mean playing through here, and then she walks forward, and I have to back up, and then maybe you start throwing shurikens from here. You see this? Or like where you go here, where you throw shurikens, kind of poke out from here. It's a little bit hard because the caster can shoot you here. It's a little bit too far away, but you can make it work. Eventually, you're going to get healed here. There you go. Okay, so the fight's starting. Now we can start throwing some shurikens. There we go. Okay. Oop. Okay. You see how difficult it is when they're so far away, right? Now, what could you do right now? Do you see it?
I could see I could dash on that soldier, then try and chain that dash
Yeah.
to the Ana.
And even if you don't get the kill, maybe you're able to deflect and then play the cover here and just basically waste their time. Try and survive as long as you can. Okay, you force Zarya out. All right. I think big thing for you is that this is definitely a difficult map, but always trying to think, where can I get close to these guys with cover? I feel like it's a little early there. It's all right. This fight's lost, right? So maybe get a kill. Maybe. Nice, nice. I think you just die here. No way you live. Wait, you live? Wow. Okay. Hey, we'll take that. It's going to be a lot easier on second point, though. Why? Why does second point feel a lot better?
I think it's a little bit more shorter and a lot more cover.
Yeah, there's a lot more like, it's like a playground, right? You ever like go to like a playground as like a kid, you know, and they got all like the jungle gym crap and the slides and all that kind of stuff, like the rock wall. That's kind of like what Genji wants, right? He doesn't like these wide open flat maps. So I think you could have played maybe a little bit better with your angles, maybe a little bit better with your recognition on the previous point. But I also do think it's just very, very difficult as for Genji. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Let's see what you can do here. I already like this. This is good. So you don't even need to dash the Ana now. You can just stand on top of her head and throw shurikens at her, right? And nobody can kill you. You can just deflect and walk away. You don't even need to dash. Let's see what you got. You're just too slow, right? That's all. You had the right idea. See? Maybe I wouldn't walk onto the Ana. Maybe I would stay right here, right? Just throw shurikens. Got me? But this is okay. The only problem here is just dash right now. Dash out. Bam. You force the Cassidy to look at you. You force anti-nade. You force the Ana to back up. The Ana's panicking and screaming for her life. That's it. Does that make sense? Oh, and by the way, look what actually happens to that Ana. There we go. No anti-nade, so she dies. Interesting, isn't it? You did a good job. Well, okay, you did an okay job. Right? Could have been better. Could have been better. All right, let's see what we got here. It's all about taking those angles, having an escape route. Taking those angles, having an escape route. That's the Genji playstyle over and over and over again. All righty. All right. See. Uh-oh. Nice. We're able to avoid the Zarya. That's huge. Good. So you don't even need to get the kill, right? Sleep dart, distraction. They're all backing up and running away. Now look at this poor Zarya. See this? Totally by herself now. Totally by herself. So you're out. She has to back up. They're all far away. That's okay. If they're all far away, you don't need to do anything. Right? Oh, now they're going to clear you out. Careful. I love this position. Oh, this is sneaky. This is great. I know this doesn't feel super great, but look at what you're doing. Every time you show up, right? You do a little bit of damage. Maybe dashing in was not good, right? Maybe dashing in was not good. But distraction. Everybody's looking at you. Boop, helix, anti-nade. Soldier runs away, Ana runs away, Lucio runs away, and once again, the Forzari is by herself. They used Nano on her, and she did nothing with it. She did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing, right? And guess what? No risk for you. You back up. Oh, look at that. Do you understand why this is working?
It's because I always have an escape plan.
Always. You always have an angle. You always have an escape plan. Now, your micro, you know, how you're using your dash, hitting your shurikens, could be a little bit better, right? Could be a little bit better, for sure. But you're doing the right things. Like right now, I was going to say, please be careful about your HP. But yeah, okay. Okay. I like this position from your Baptiste as well. Look at that. Look at that. Look at. Do you see what they've gone? Do you see what they've gone? They got tired of you. The tank is like, let's counter Genji. Let's go Winston. Let's do it. All right. Let's see how we do. Now this doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. Just because they go Winston doesn't change anything. It might mean that you need to run away from the Winston. But if I'm going to tell you right now, if the Winston jumps you, and especially if he uses bubble, that's great. That's great for your team. Because what do you do if Winston jumps you?
You dash away.
You dash away. And now he has to use bubble, and that's such a long cooldown. That's way more valuable than a Genji dash. Watch this guy. I think he actually does jump. Not going for your squishies. He's going for you. Get this Genji. Ah! Right? I don't know why your guy canceled his pen, but yeah. Okay, let's see what we got here. Fine. They do actually do a good job clearing the top there. I don't blame you going for that one. I like the play. You had an escape route just in case it goes wrong, but you used your dash because the guy was so low. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, he was so low. That's actually so frustrating. That's okay. Fight was lost either way. Not bad. And they did use tactical visor as well. All right, we need an angle, and we need to be sneaky, and we need something with an escape route. Honestly,
My ultimate is ready.
I'm honestly not too sure. That's a little bit annoying. I will say this. Remember, whenever you commit your dash, that's your escape route, right? So if you don't get that kill right there on the Reaper, he used Wraith, right? Then you got to be really careful.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes.
So it was back to when I wrote into the description, reading the room. How would you do that with Genji? Would that just be tracking cooldowns and just waiting to go in?
Yes. What I would do is I would say, like, okay, I think one of the big things we talk about, like tracking cooldowns, right? There's a lot of cooldowns to track. So you got to prioritize. Like right now, what cooldowns do you need to be tracking? What would be helpful? Do you need to track Amp from Lucio or Helix from Soldier or Winston jump? No. I mean, look at what's on your screen right now. What is important to track right now?
The Reaper.
Yeah, and whoever's behind them, right? You can see the Ana healing, right? I wonder if she has nade. I wonder if she has sleep dart, right? Now that's a lot to track. That's 3 cooldowns right there. Bam. I don't think that you're going to be able to track all of those immediately. So what you should do is you should prioritize. Okay? Right now, what's probably the most important cooldown to know?
Would be if Reaper has Wraith.
Right, exactly. Probably Wraith more so than anything else. So until I see that Wraith, I'm not going to use my dash. Because then I'll be caught out in the open with no. So what I would do is, like, we could look at this as be like more like it's not that you weren't tracking cooldowns. You weren't tracking cooldown. The cooldown that mattered the most right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
So it's the more important cooldown. So if you're in a 1v1 with Ana and you're tracking, let's say, the cooldown from Soldier, well, why would you be tracking that cooldown if you're 1v1ing the Ana?
Right. So what I would do is I would practice tracking just the one cooldown. I'd pick something, I'd look at the enemy comp, I'd look at who I'm fighting right now, look at who I'm thinking about diving, and I'd pick that cooldown to try and pay attention to. Something to track. And over time, you'll be able to track more and more cooldowns. But I think just starting small is a good way of improving it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's wrap this up. So, Genji, what skills do you need to practice? We've talked about a few.
Positioning with Genji
Positioning
and
in regards to what?
taking angles.
Taking short angles, experimenting more with different
Mhm.
positions, not getting caught in main too much. Okay, what else?
Ooh. Oh,
When you take an
would it
angle,
be
you take a dash, you
oh
take an engage. What do you need?
when you
Yeah,
should engage
right?
and escape plans as well?
Escape routes, right? Uh, Wall climb, deflect, cover, dash. Always have an escape plan or an engage. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. If somebody's 1 HP and you think you can get the kill, you don't need an escape route, but you got to be careful, right? Okay.
Okay.
And then what was the last thing that we just talked about there? I think that's a pretty important
Tracking cooldowns, but
Track
especially a
a
cooldown, the important one.
down.
That if you're 1v1ing someone,
One that's
you need to track that cooldown instead of like someone who's not even in the picture.
right, exactly. Start small, practice. Remember with Genji, it's important to think, slow things down when practicing so that you can build habits that allow you to not think. Train your instincts. Does that make sense? You want to kind of think like some things need to become automatic and very fast with Genji, but you're not there yet. It's going to take some practice to get there. So slow it down. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. That's okay. Slow it down, think, slow it down, think, slow it down, think. You build better habits. All of a sudden, it's going to get instinctual, and then you won't even need to think about some of these things. They're just going to happen. Does that make sense?
Nice. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
So it was about the. I feel like I already said this, but I want to re-say this again to see if I understand it. It was about the adapting, but you know how Genjis get very aggressive.
Yes.
So, and like, let's say in base level, Genjis are aggressive, but then the enemy plays differently, and then now you're playing different, as in, like, let's say you're playing with your team more, or you're going for longer flank. Would that just be the same thing that we talked about with the May Torb,
Yeah,
or
it's more about like, am I looking to go play more for dives? Am I looking to play more for poke? Am I looking to play more for like hard committal stuff? But the biggest thing is that I don't care if you're playing versus May Torb, if you're playing versus Winston Tracer, if you're playing versus Reinhardt, Zarya, Symmetra, you're going to be taking angles and you're going to be looking for dives. What it might mean that you play more for dives and less for poke, or more for poke and less for dives, but you're always going to be thinking about angles. So the things we talked about today might adjust a little bit more divey, a little bit more pokey, a little bit more high ground, a little bit less high ground, but the overall play style is always the same. Just the details change a little bit. Does that make sense?
okay,
Just the details
makes
change.
total sense.
So what I would do is I would almost never have you stacking inside of your team. What might change though is what angle you take depends on what comp you're playing versus. If I'm playing versus a Widowmaker comp, I might take longer flanks to try and sneak up on her. If I'm playing versus like these Mays and Reapers, I might take these longer angles, so these high ground angles, and just spam them instead.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
Makes total sense.